So that's a question. Is the economy under Donald Trump going to slow down? Right now, my friends, don't forget to subscribe. That is not a problem. Right now, the economy is doing just fine. Why is it doing just fine? Because there's growth in this economy. But this is not what you need to worry about. What you need to worry about is this. Are they going to lower the rates for your mortgage? Right? That's what you want to know. Are they going to lower the rate for the mortgage? Well, that's going to happen in July. In July, you're going to find out whether or not they're going to do it. Now, my guess are they are going to lower the rates, and I will tell you why. Right now at the Fed, there's a lot of distension. What do I mean by that? Well, some of these guys, they want to become the next Fed chair. Now, for example, take the example of our dear friend. He's the current governor of the Fed over at Kevin Wash, right? What did Kevin Wash say this week? He's basically said the Fed needs to remain independent. Okay, so let's be clear on that. Having said that, I think that we should lower the rates. So within the 14 people that are around the Fed chair, one of them is saying already, I think we need to lower the rates. There's tremendous amount of pressure, and it's not just Trump basically threatening everyone. I think there's a lot of people that are putting a lot of pressures in different ways, in ways that you will never know. They're putting pressure on these people in ways that you will never know. What does that mean? I am not so sure how they're doing it, but they're doing it, as usual, in any type of political environment. So that means that for your mortgage, don't buy a car now at 5 or 6%, right? Wait, because they are going to lower those rates. And even if it doesn't lower the rates in September, at the end of July, then I believe that they will lower the rates by next year. Why? Because the pressure is on, which is good news. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because I come to you every day and I explain to you what's going on underneath. What do I mean by that? The economy doing great, inflation not there. So you say, well, then this is great, then there's no problem. Well, hold on. If you're looking to buy a house, my advice to you is just wait a little bit longer, because rates are going to come down. Why? They're going to come down because there's no evidence right now of inflation. Why? Because Trump is able to keep this whole house in order. He's able to keep all these people together from not lowering the rates, right? Release the Epstein file. Now, that is an interesting point. And this is the point that I want to make to you all, is that as long as Trump is able to keep this house together, right? How is he able to do that? Because he is where he is, and he'll threaten, he'll do anything he needs to do. The problem that you're going to have, what happens if he can't do it? A, he gets sick. He's got some problem with his legs. 2, the Epstein file. That's a problem. Why? Well, because he was supposed, not that he's in it, okay? It's just that the MAGA people want to see what's going on. And if Trump loses that, then he loses control over everyone. And if he loses control over everyone, then these people overseas, right, that are not doing retaliatory tariffs, don't forget, everyone is being charged 10% in the world on average, and no one is doing anything. You know, Mexico, Canada, even Canada came up, and I did a video on that recently. Canada recently said, you know what, I don't think we're going to be able to avoid the tariffs. There's no way we're going to be able to avoid the tariffs. So it's working because of Trump. But if he loses power, if he loses control over all that, and that's a lot of stuff to control, then what's going to happen is they will do retaliatory tariffs. So yeah, you're going to get charged 30% on Canada, but then Canada is going to charge you 30%, 40%, 50%. Same thing with Europe. Same thing with all these countries. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. This may be not of interest to you today, this topic, but tomorrow will be another one, and the one after, and the one after. And what this channel is about, really, is we're looking for risks in the system that could impact your job. I used to be a federal employee. Trump literally destroyed my life. I work in healthcare, and the way the government handled COVID traumatized me, and it will stick with me. Unfortunately, you have to understand one thing is you cannot please everyone, right? I mean, the reason he was elected is because at least 50% of the people wanted something to get done. Unfortunately, the way he does it in a way, he coerces. But quite frankly, something needed to be done, especially when it came down to the tariffs. Let me explain. It doesn't matter who would be in control of the White House, right? Could have been Kamala, could have been him. Something needs to be done. Why? You cannot have a trade deficit to that extent, such a huge trade deficit, and have a fiscal deficit, meaning that A, you are bringing more stuff, right, than you're bringing out. Well, that's great. So we're buying stuff. Yeah, but the thing is, the US is forgetting. The US is forgetting how to make stuff. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I tell you what the risk. What is wrong with free trade? Well, there's nothing wrong with free trade. It's that the way it was done, it wasn't done the right way, meaning that, okay, fine, let's do free trade with Canada. Let's get everything from Canada. Let's get everything from Mexico, which quite frankly came through China, right? So all this stuff, and meanwhile, the US is not making anything in terms of making it, right? Do you realize that 30% of the medication is only made in the US, the rest is made overseas? Do you realize that the US does not need, he's a criminal. I mean, let's take it easy here. The US does not know how to handle the rare minerals. Who cares about rare minerals? No. You need to care about rare minerals. The reason you need to care is because that is what goes into your cell phone. Okay, no big deal, right? No. It also goes into weaponry. And the US does not know how to do it. Now, on my Patreon channel, I gave you a couple of names. One of them is actually makes gold and is involved in rare mineral, and the stock went up 40%. So there are opportunities in everything that I work for the VA, did not get fired. I was disabled vet who were in drug. You've lost your job. Well, I mean, right now, you technically shouldn't have a problem with jobs. If your dollar is a high value, you will no longer produce a nation, you're a consumer. Well, that's true. Right now, we are a consumer nation, which is great. And do you know why we're a consumer nation? Because everyone wants the dollar. The dollar is a reserve currency right now. So therefore, all you have to give these people is a piece of paper, and they'll give you weapons, they'll give you pharmaceutical, they give you everything, as long as you are a reserve currency. The moment that stops, well, that's never going to stop. Well, it is under, the dollar is under attack right now. Believe it or not, the dollar is under attack. Look at the value of the dollar right now. It is dropping. Now, if you were in Europe and you wanted to invest in the U.S. Stock market, you're not doing too well. Why? Well, because even though the U.S. market went up, the dollar went down against the euro. So you lost money as an investor. So as a foreign investor, you don't want to be investing in the U.S. Countries are starting to see. Yes, that's true. I agree with Mike. Other countries are starting to see other currencies as reserve currency. Now, which one? We're not there yet. Okay, I got to tell you that right now, about 68% of transactions are being done in dollars, like foreign exchange transaction. The U.S. is 25% GDP. Our credit rating is in danger of being downgraded. Yeah, he's right too, because quickly at $37 trillion of debt, that's going to be very difficult. We say Trump was worried about national debt, even though the first term he added $3 trillion. Well, he's a political guy, right? And this is what pissed off Elon Musk, because Elon Musk basically said, okay, we're going to save some money, right? And Elon, you may or may not like him, right? But he did a great job with the car and the way he was able to save. I mean, the guy is an efficient expert, and he did that. He did expertly reduce the amount of, and he did great for his car. So he said, let me do that for Doge. And he found a bunch of things. The only thing is they said, whoa, hold on. You're going a little too far here. Now you're firing a bunch of people, sending them email whether or not they're working or not. You're being a little bit too efficient. In fact, calm down, relax. Thank you very much for your help. You were supposed to leave anyway, so you got to go because you're upsetting a lot of people. And he said, but Donald, I thought we were friends. What happened? And Donald says, yeah, no, but this is too much. And meanwhile, he turns around and Mike is right, adding another $3 trillion to the $37 trillion. Now, is this a concern? it is a concern. I mean, people on the left are going to tell you this is a concern. We have too much debt. That's true. But I will tell you, as long as the U.S. is a reserve currency, all you need to do is print more money. And for a while, you're going to be able to reimburse yourself. The only thing that you're doing when you're printing more money, which they're going to have to do soon because 9 trillion is being refinanced this year alone, is that you're debasing the currency. And that's why a lot of international and foreigners and investors are not investing in the US. Why? Because when they bring the money back into their own country, they're losing because the dollar is losing value and their currency is too strong. But that's because Donald wants a weak currency. And you know why? He wants a weak currency because it helps other countries to buy U.S. product. It's cheaper. So the thing with all this, the economy being strong, the inflation being tame, the tariffs working, is because Trump is coercing the whole thing to work on a short-term basis. It's short-term because, frankly, Trump doesn't have that much time left. Okay, and who is going to be able to do what he does? Who is? Let's not talk about the Jews right now because with the situation in Israel and Iran, right? That is not one thing that you want to be happening right now, and it is going to happen, my friends. And don't forget to subscribe because I want to inform you all the main topics that will impact your lives. Right now, lower rates. Right now, lower rates meaning that you are going to have lower mortgages. Want to buy a car? Just wait a little bit. That's going to happen. You're going to lose your job? No, not. I mean, I'm not saying nobody's going to lose their job, but I'm saying right now unemployment is down quite a bit. In fact, if you look at some of the latest numbers, I think it came out Thursday. The claims that came out were lower. Unemployment claims were lower than expected. So, by all accountants, the economy is doing fine. And of course, some people say, that can't be. Donald Trump is doing great. Well, I mean, he's using the strong techniques here. He's pushing this thing. He picked up the phone and he called Netanyahu and he told us, that's it, you're not doing it anymore. He called NATO. He said, you're going to spend 5%, and they did. And he went to the senators and all these guys said, don't read the big beautiful bill, just sign. And literally they did. I will tell you that none of these people read the bill. Check it out. None of these people read the bill. Okay, so devaluing currency induce buying power in shooting yourself. Well, yes, of course, because your currency is weaker and weaker. Who's going to invest in this country, right? Nobody, because you got to bring the money back to your country, right? And that's what he's saying. Don't do it. Come to this country and build in this country, in the U.S. But that's for the consumption of the people, right? To tell them, bring it over here. How do you think that's going to work? Right. By the time you decide on your board that you want to bring the factories in the U.S., it will take decades. Exactly. But he knows that. I mean, that's why you shouldn't fall, and that's why I want my subscribers to be knowledgeable. Don't fall for things like that. He knows that too. He's not stupid. What he wants, you know what he wants? And he's getting it. He wants to bring your kids. He wants to bring the money, and he is making. The U.S. is bringing in between $200 to $300 billion this year. Would you believe that? $300 billion is going to come to the U.S. And over the next 10 years, we're talking $2.5 trillion. So this is great. Well, yes, but these countries are not going to say nothing Canada is literally taking it 30, although Canada is not a problem because most of what they're paying is in the North American Trade Agreement, so doesn't impact Canada that much. Mexico is being impacted, and they're not replacing. Fine, 30%, I'm good with it. Why? Because they can't afford to be without the U.S. The U.S. is 25% GDP. So right now, everything is working out just fine, right? The thing is, you have to understand, if you're thinking, let's talk stock market for a second, the stock market is grossly overvalued. The S&P 500, you may not understand or not what I'm talking about here, but the S&P 500 as a measure of valuation is around 25. Historically, it was 16. So the U.S. stock market is extremely overvalued. Okay, but it's great because the economy is doing great, and this, yeah, right now. But how long is this going to last? How long are people going to be willing to pay that much for a dollar of earning in the U.S., knowing what my subscribers just talked about in terms of the dollar, in terms of the debt? Well, as long as Trump is around and he's able to keep the whole house together. In Europe is much cheaper, and I'm going to do a video later on next week, to show you that you probably want to start looking at Europe. You want to look at Europe. For the simple reason, it's cheaper. I mean, do you know that the P for Tesla is 150? How about Nvidia? 38, 90. Well, Nvidia is a great company. Well, let me just give you one thing about AI so that you understand what's going on with AI, right? Apple is doing AI. Facebook is doing AI. You can seem like a typical militant. No. I'm not a militant MAGA. I am not one way or the other. I'm trying to show you both sides. The problem is that people. The thing is, you're so used to when you listen either to the news or to Bloomberg or CNN to be one way or the other. You're saying, well, either you're with me or you're against me. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. Right now, it's working. I hate to tell you, what Trump is doing is right now is working. Why? Because the stock market is up. All these things are working for him. But what I'm saying is, he's borrowing today for tomorrow. My concern is that that's not going to hold forever. The market right now is overvalued. So what do you do with a thing like that? You keep buying, right? AI is a great thing. Well, AI is a great thing in a sense that because that's the future, right? Right? No, but hold on. In the past, Apple used to make apples, iPhones, and Facebook would do their thing, and all these people used to do their thing. Now they're all doing AI. They're all doing the same thing, right? Have you seen Grok from Tesla, from Elon Musk? Have you seen ChatGPT? How about the other one from Google? So they're all kind of now going after the same thing on AI. So there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. I mean, I don't want to pick that way. I don't want to pick one way or the other. I want them to do what they used to do. But now it's all about AI. Okay? And we're overpaying for AI. The market is overvalued. Listen, take a look at the P ratio. The market is extremely overvalued. So you have an economy that is, yeah. But I know about lots of things, and I travel all over the world, and I have businesses, and I have a portfolio, and I teach. So I have a certain ideas of how things should be done. The problem is, and this is what this channel is about, and I want you to subscribe, obviously, if possible. And also, if you take a look at my Patreon channel, what's happening is when I'm listening to Bloomberg, let's take a case of Bloomberg. When you listen to them, you have to realize that they're not the biggest fan of Donald Trump. Okay, so they'll say, the economy is going up, but you know what? Things are going to get worse in the future. So you're not getting information. You're getting news, and most people nowadays, unfortunately, because they only have, believe it or not, the average view on this channel, people spend about 40 seconds. How can you be educated in 40 seconds? You cannot. And who's telling you what to listen to? Well, the algorithm is saying, well, listen to this and listen to that and listen to this. It's guiding you. I want my subscribers to be as knowledgeable. You may not like what I like, but I want you to be as knowledgeable as possible and have your own mind and realize what's going on. It doesn't matter who, you need 40 lifetimes. Yes, you do. And that's going to be a problem. So you need to be educated. You need to understand what's happening, and you need to look forward. And you need, but more importantly, okay, if you're going to be in the stock market, and that's something that I say all the time, you need to be able to understand what's going to happen next. Predicting the future? No, I'm not predicting the future, but you need to be prepared for risk. You shouldn't be focused solely on trying to make money in the stock market. No. Because right now it doesn't matter what you do, right? The market is going up. What you should be worried about, am I prepared for a downside? What would you rather have? Would you rather lose 20% when everybody's losing 50%, because that's going to happen pretty soon, let me tell you. Or do you want to make 50%, right? And what everybody's making 100%. Which one do you want? You should be focused on trying to avoid losing any money. Why? Anti-fragility. Very nice. I get some smart people out there. He's talking about anti-fragile. In fact, this channel, believe it or not, is about that. It's about black swan. Where are the risks? Where are the risks in the market? Why? Because that's how you avoid losing money. Making money is not that difficult, but losing it in this market could happen very quickly. And anti-fragile, black swan, Taleb Nassim. Taleb Nassim was the one. These guys with that hedge fund, Universa, they made 4,000% during COVID. That's what you want to do. That is where the money is. The money is not looking correct. What's up with the hand sign? Okay, I'm not moving. That's what's happening with Taleb Nassim. Taleb Nassim said that. He gets up every morning and he says he doesn't know what's going to happen. And that's what you should do. When you get up in the morning, you should know, I don't know what's going to happen in the stock market. Right. And it's not just him. The most successful philosopher, the first one, right, said that one thing that I've learned that I don't know anything. Socrates, he said that, the first one. He lived like a pauper, and he said, I know that I don't know anything. And it's important for you to know that. Because right now you're saying, well, this is great. The market is up. Tariffs are coming in, blah, blah, blah. No, you have to know that you don't know anything. And of course, you really don't know anything because they're not telling you anything, right? When Trump says things like, I'm going to sue the Fed chair. I want him out and I want him to lower the rates, and he's not doing it. He's a slow-mo, blah, blah, blah. What do you think he's doing? Do you think that he's going to fire the Fed? He can't do that. Okay. Well, he's not going to fire. He's going to get rid of him because he spent $2 billion on a building. He's going to do that. No. First of all, if he does that, the market is going to collapse because you need an independent Fed. That's what happened in Turkey. I don't know if anyone is from Turkey, but in Turkey in 2021, the president of Turkey, or the dictator of Turkey, basically said, you know what? He went to his Fed. He said, you got to lower the rates. He said, but sir, we have inflation. I don't care. Do you know how much the inflation went in Turkey? 60 to 70% inflation. Okay, Turkey. Forget Turkey. Let's talk about the U.S. In the 50s, Truman said to his Fed chair, you got to lower the rates, okay? But sir, we have inflation. I don't care. We need to lower rates, so we encourage the economy. Because all the president, all they want is they want lower rates because they know the impact on the stock market. The stock market is like, opportunistic. Because if rates are 2%, then you're going to have to invest in the stock market because you're not making any money anywhere else. So what happened in 1950? He went out and he said, I want him out. And they said, we can't, no. Okay, you know what? Then let's get together. So they had a meeting in 1951 and they decided that, okay, fine, from now on, the Fed is really independent. And okay, for this time alone, we will get rid of the current Fed chair. So it did happen in the 50s with Truman. Look it up. But the new guy that came in did exactly the same thing. He also he didn't lower the rate, he raised the rates. And Truman wasn't happy. But then with Richard Nixon, which we all know, what happened with Richard Nixon, now we're finding out later on that he had Arthur Burns, who was the Fed chair at that time, in his pocket. And Arthur Burns did his bidding. While inflation was going up, he lowered the rates. I don't have to tell you what happened in the 70s. So when Trump is pushing around, lowering doesn't make the stock market go higher. It's the money printing that does. Well, I know if we knew what made the market go up and down, we'd be rich people, all of us. The problem, what's going to happen is that the rates are going to keep going lower and lower, and that's what Trump wants. But is that really smart when you've seen history and you've seen what happened when you have inflation? You cannot have the two. Let me tell you, I mean, I don't know if you have money in the stock market. Hopefully you do. You say, oh, this is great. I'm making lots of money right now. Be careful, because in the 70s and the 80s, inflation destroyed the stock market. People lost their jobs. So I wouldn't be too keen on liking what Trump is doing right now with pushing and pushing and pushing. But he's not stupid. He knows that the guy is not going to go anywhere. What he's doing is indicating that's what he wants. And in fact, he's telling anyone that wants to be Fed, if you're not saying anything like that, you won't be Fed chairman. And you know who's talking? Do you know who's saying anything? This guy, Kevin Walsh, governor of the Fed. He's governor of the Fed in, I think, on the West, somewhere in Chicago, whatever. And he said, I believe in the Fed independence, but I also believe rates should be lower. So, and and he literally said, I'm interested in the Fed. I'm interested in being the Fed chair. Literally. And he's one of the 14 guys with whom the Fed chair is currently talking to. This is interesting. He's talking and he's saying, I want your job. And in fact, I'm just telling my new boss that I'm going to lower rates. So July is going to be a very interesting period for the Fed, because there's a humongous amount of people that want to lower the rates. But that's what Trump wants. He wants them to fight it out. And they all say, yeah, I'm going to lower rates. I'm going to lower rates. So give me the job. Give me the job. 14 years, that's a good job. Give me the job. That's what he's doing. And the market also knows that. I mean, if I know this, right, the market knows that too. And what do you think the market is going to do? The market is going to simply assume that rates are going to go lower, which is a very dangerous thing, because if inflation comes back at the same time that you're lowering the rates, and I should bring up what's going on with Trueflation to know what's happening with the, check out Trueflation. You have a good understanding of inflation. But if the rates are going down and inflation shows up, wow, but it didn't show up now. Well, you haven't seen it yet. In the economy, then he's not my guy. Nobody's my guy. The only guy that I have is the money. Do I make money? Do I lose money? Right now, he's making me money. I'm worried he's going to make me lose money later on. How? I think he's going to make me lose money later on because, he's 79 years old. Okay? I mean, he's incredible at keeping all these things together. But how long is he going to keep it together? That's one. Two, we're not done with inflation yet. Meaning that the reason you don't have inflation is because even though these people, and they're getting hit with huge amount of tariffs, I mean, Mexico, 30%, but they're not raising the rates, right? Well, at least they're not doing retaliatory tariffs against the U.S. And this is good because it's keeping them at bay. And the prices that are going down the process are not being passed on to the consumer. They say, well, because they bought it ahead of time and they knew this was going to happen. And so we don't have that issue. But the problem is, what happens if it does? What happens if they start to say, you know what, we can't do it. We can't do it. We have to raise the rates. We have to raise the prices. And then Walmart's going to raise prices, and then Amazon, and then at the same time, you're also lowering the rates. This could be a catastrophe. Why could it be a catastrophe? Yeah, last CPI and core inflation was still lower. Yes, right now. It could be a catastrophe because the market is overvalued to begin with. It is overvalued compared to Europe. My advice to you would be very careful. He was seeking a business deal in Russia. It was campaigning. Yeah, well, I don't know about the rushing. I didn't look into it. I don't know exactly what's going on there. Okay, but you have to understand that a lot of people did not want him to come back, and because of this, right? Because the way he's managing this process, he's not managing like a president, right? He's not managing like like the president of Mexico, the prime minister in Canada, van der Leyen in Europe. Why? Because these people want jobs after they're done, right? So they want to make sure they please the businesses. The same way when you listen to Bloomberg and CNBC, these people are not talking to you, they're talking to the sponsors. So you're not going to hear things that are too strong one way or the other. Okay, and plus at the same time, they're telling you what you want to hear. If you don't like Trump, then don't listen to Bloomberg, right? If you don't listen to Bloomberg, actually, if you like Trump, go to Fox Business. They're going to tell you all the good things about Trump. So there is a finite number of downside to this, and a handful of potential good outcomes. It doesn't seem worth it gambling the economy. I have to agree with Mike. I mean, the thing is, you might be gambling. You could make money and you could lose money, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to say lower the rates. The guy lowers the rates. A new guy that comes in, or the markets assume that rates are going to be lower. That's going to be great. Then the new guy comes in, lower rates, and then you don't have inflation ever. It's going to be fantastic. But if you have inflation, let me tell you, if you have inflation and you lower the rates, by the time you say, okay, never mind, let's raise the rate again, it's going to be a catastrophe. And the market cannot afford any mistake at this point. At a P ratio of 25, which is over the running of 17 average over the past few years, so therefore the market is overvalued. So the market is waiting for a reason to collapse. And I don't know if you know that, but right now the buying is at the retail. You know, the smart money is not buying. Europe is definitely not buying in the U.S. In fact, they move all their money into Europe right now. And frankly, I mean, take a look at my live every day, but where I give you on my Patreon channel and on my my screen, you could see every day that Spain is up 20%, Germany is up, Italy. So you're making more money in Europe. Here in the U.S., what you should be doing, you should be, because you need to be invested as well. You don't want to miss out the boat. You want to take a look at small caps. Small caps right now are very cheap. So I would strongly recommend you look at the small caps. I've got a bunch of names for you in there in my Patreon channel. I mean, I have, I'll do another video on that. And I mean, the Patreon channel is free. So click on it, take a look at it. And you'll see, well, I know I've got to sell something. You can't do it for free either. But basically what I'm saying is get some small caps. Not any small caps, obviously, but, you know, things like GCT, IDR, Idaho Resources, which is doing gold, and they're also doing rare mineral. That's up 40% in the past 2 weeks when I recommended it. I mean, I didn't know that a rare mineral is going to be a thing, but it was a small company, less than 2 billion in market cap. They have growth. P ratio is low, like 5 to 10, and they have growth, and they have no debt. Yeah, but it's not NVIDIA. Yeah, forget NVIDIA. It's too late. That boat is that. Look at the 2-year stocks up 50%. Really? I mean, we went down last year. We're up a little bit this year. We lost a lot this year, at the beginning of the year, and we're back up. My view is, and don't forget, because this is a black swan, we're looking for what could go wrong. Well, you've got the economy. Okay, the economy is great, fantastic right now. And even the economists are saying we're not going to have a recession. So forget all these people telling you recession. Well, they have to keep telling you. Eventually, they're going to be right. Even the chair of JP Morgan says, watch out, there's going to be a recession. He's been saying it forever. So forget recession. Inflation, as long as Trump is around, I don't think you can have inflation. Nobody wants to mess around with a crazy guy like that, okay? Israel, Iran, that's a problem, right? It's a problem because Israel is a loose cannon and is not listening to Trump, as you could see what happened recently with Syria. They went in there and they wouldn't do regime change. They wanted to help some of the people affiliated with Israel. I'm not going to go into the politics of it, but it's well known that all they wanted to I am in your Patreon channel. Can you ask that you reduce the post frequency? Each one of them sends email notice, and I don't want to switch off notif. I doesn't understand how Tariff works. Oh, that's interesting, Soapy Water. Let me combine the. Oh, you want me to combine? You know what? That's what I'll do. I'll do a one post a day with everything, and that's a good idea, actually. 90% of stocks being owned by a handful of investors, and those most public sector pension are tied into the market, goes under most people. What's happening, most of the money, believe it or not, right now, the smart money, the institutions are out of the market. Believe it or not. That's a good idea, Sophia. I should do one post. But it's just that there's so many things happening, right? And I don't want you to miss out. But I'll do a post in the morning with everything in it. That's gonna be easier, and that's what you want to do, right? You want to make sure you understand what's happening. So these are the risks. The other risk that we have obviously is Iran, Israel. Not so much that, again, this is a typical thing with Iran, right? Everybody says that they want to build a bomb to destroy Israel. They want to build a bomb so they could make $2 trillion for themselves and their cronies. We all know that if they say, okay, I got the bomb, I'm going to destroy Israel, the moment it opens, they destroy themselves. It's not going to work. The issue with them right now is that, and this is what you understand the second story, which is not always told, is that Netanyahu is a loose cannon. He wants to keep fighting. Netanyahu wants to fight. He wants to stay in power, because the more he fights, the more he stick around. And because don't forget, the moment he start fighting, there's a huge trial after him. And they want to get him. Okay, and even Trump said, leave him alone. They're going after you. They're going after me. Well, they went after Trump for the law was. He did a few things. Now, was it worth it? That amount of time and effort? No, they wanted him out for obvious reason. Is Trump a good guy? I don't know what you mean by a good guy. I mean, everybody's got to do something to make money. I mean, right now, his technique is making lots of people lots of money. Last year, if you were into crypto, you were horrible. This year, you're doing great. The thing with Trump, unfortunately, is that he's a one-man show that's working right now, but how long is it going to last, and what happens when it doesn't last? And that's the thing you have to be concerned about. So be very careful. Depends where you are. Are you looking to buy a house? It's going to be great. Lower rates are going to go down. Are you going to be in the stock market? Be careful at buying an NVIDIA right now, right? Because it's easy to buy when everybody else is buying. I always say you want to buy when everybody else is selling. Well, that's crazy. Well, yeah, that's what you have to do. Right now, everybody's selling small company stocks. Mark my words. We're going to come back to this video one day. You want to buy the small company stocks because they are very cheap. And that's what I mean, that when the market is going to collapse, obviously, it's going to take the small company, but it's not going to take you down 50%. Maybe it takes you down 20%. And that's what you want. You're going to lose money. Okay? I don't know when, because we can't keep it like that, right? Meaning that you're charging all these countries 30, 40% tariffs. They're not doing anything. Eventually, they're going to do something. And then when they do, it's going to cost the taxpayer. And unfortunately, by that time, the rates are going to be lower, and that's not going to be good. And then I have to tell you, my biggest fear is, have you seen the recent run on Open Door? No, Open Door stock. My biggest fear is China. Is that yeah, it is. I agree with Mike. It's too expensive. Okay, this market is too expensive and cannot afford any mistakes. My concern, right? Besides the national debt is high. But that's okay, because we're still a reserve currency. You just print more money, and for now, it's going to be okay. The concern that I have is with China. You have to understand the way China works is that they said, "I am going. Let's do a real estate boom, okay? Well, nobody wants to buy. Don't worry about it. Here, I am lending money for real estate developer for them to build houses." Or they do that with cars and everything else. So they go and they buy the stuff. And then they go to the consumer. You want to buy a house? Let me finance you buying a house. And that's how you had a real estate boom that crashes. Now, right now, what's happening with China, and you need to understand this. Listen to me 5 seconds. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, obviously. What's going to happen with China is they need to sell whatever they are producing, because they're producing a lot more than the US, because everything is being made there: medicine, weapons, rare minerals. The thing is, when Trump said, I want 50% tariff, 30%, 175% tariff, they could not sell anything. They could not sell anything. And if China cannot sell what they have because we're not buying, then you have deflation. Then they have to lower the prices. They have to lower the prices, and that's what's happening in China. But then you need to realize something else. If that's not enough, these people are going to lose their jobs. They're going to have another crash over there. And what do you do with factories where there's nothing to be produced? What is it that you could produce? What was it that you could create? Supply creates its own demand, right? What if you go into Taiwan and you get in there, right? And you stop whatever reason, because, Taiwan is not the only country that China says belongs to it, right? There's a bunch of them. You get in there and you start some stuff. And then instead of making pharmaceutical items, you start making weapons. Well, we should have better regulation to prevent big banks to take advantage of people's money. Well, there is lots of regulation. The thing is, you have to understand that, having seen what's going on the outside, the little guy doesn't have too much of a chance if it's all he's trying or she's trying to make money from what you are hearing. You need to make money from what you don't hear. You need to make money for what you think that's really going on, right? For example, right now, you want to make money for what's really going on or what they're saying. Well, if Trump is saying he wants to fire the Fed, is that what he's saying? No, he's not saying that. What he's saying is he wants lower rates. And in fact, he's telling anyone who he wants lower rates. Now, if you know anything, you should say, great, I want to buy a house that's going to be good. You should be worried with your stocks the more he talks like that. Why? Because there's going to be some inflation at some point. Why? Because I believe that inflation is being tamed because Trump is holding these people together. And Trump is 79 years old. I think he's got some problem with his legs or whatever. So I could shift forward into AI and biotechs. I would. No. AI, be careful with AI. Oh my God. AI, like I said before, and don't forget if I told you to subscribe. But AI, what is AI? Well, AI, Grok is doing it. Grok is the thing with Tesla. Gemini, which is a Google AI. ChatGPT, and a bunch of others. What are they doing? They are doing the same thing. In the past, Amazon would do his thing. Tesla would make cars, right? Apple would make iPhones. Now they're all doing the same thing. So be careful. Be careful, because it's going to be a loser. And they're spending billions of dollars trying to get to the top. Yes, you need AI. Yes, but not everyone can do it successfully. Last time they lowered rates, the 10-year Treasury actually went up and made house price more expensive. Everybody's limiting each other. Microsoft Copilot is dominating corporate adoption. Exactly. Just be careful. You need a vision of everything before you start making anything. And I don't care. Even if you have no money in the stock market, then you have to worry about your job, right? Is the economy going to keep on going? The economy right now is strong. Why? Because the U.S. consumer is spending money. Why? Because the U.S. consumer is confident. And don't forget, the U.S. is 25% of global GDP. And Trump knows that. So when he goes to Canada and he says to them, you're going to pay me 35%, the guy has no chance. In fact, he said in Wall Street Journal that, this is going to stick. Now, of course, Canada is saying that because 80% of their goods are protected through the current agreement that they have. So you can't touch those. So it's going to have some minor impact. The only impact that it has is on the prime minister, because he said when to be elected, the Canadian prime minister, that I'm going to do something about this guy. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do this to us. And now he just admitted, you know what? I think he's going to do it. He's crazy. What am I supposed to do? Right? 70% of exports in Canada goes to the US. I mean, it's going to be tough to say no if somebody says, a bully comes in and says, you're going to pay me. You're going to say no? Do you think that Mexico is going to say no? Who are they going to sell to? China? China has got so much stuff that they sell, and they don't know what to do with it. You're going to go to Canada? You cannot avoid, and Trump knows that. And that's why you use all kind of excuses. And that's why you have to look at the two levels of stories, right? What are the two level stories? Well, I don't like he did with Brazil. Let's talk about Brazil, for example, right? He went there and he said, Belisaro, basically, which was a previous president, basically said to the guy, you know what? I don't like him. I don't know what he did. This is ridiculous. You're picking on him. 50% tariff for Brazil. And the president of Brazil said, "Who does this guy think? He's an emperor? He's not an emperor." It's absolutely possible to mess up economic regulation, but every other first world country happens to do without relinquishing power to the most powerful corporation on the. I hate to say it, but that's what's happening, right? And frankly, why do you think YouTube, right? YouTube is watched more than Netflix and all the other networks. Why? Because this is the only way you're going to know what people are really thinking, right? What are they really thinking? Because he's right. Mike is right. If you listen to Bloomberg, yeah, okay, thanks for the news. Be careful of the analysis, okay? Because how do I know have you beaten the market recently? I don't think so. And at the end of the day, you want to keep us invested in the stock market. So take it easy. Oh, let me go to Fox Business. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, Trump can do no wrong. Okay, so what do I know in the middle? What do I do here, right? As a little guy or the little woman? Well, you need to find voices, and you need to obviously educate yourself. It's extremely important to educate yourself, because otherwise you don't know what's going to happen next. And the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to find out what's happening when it's happening. It's too late. It's too late, right? You need to know what you wanted to do now, right? The AI space is massive. These competitors mean very little. That's why they throw so much money at R&D. Yes, but the thing, they're working at the same thing. They're working after the same thing. I know it's a gigantic space, but they're all throwing money after the same thing, and they cannot all be working on the same AI. Like I will tell you, right? I'm experimenting with Grok, with Gemini, and ChatGPT, for example. So there's certain things I ask Gemini that ChatGPT knows much better, but it's like, draw me a picture, give me your comments, right? Being ahead or having foresight gives you need the foresight, right? Your retirement should be a 30-year gamble. It shouldn't be. But you have to be careful, because you're not the one controlling it, right? I mean, for example, this, and I will tell you, they always say that in 1987, I remember 1987 when the market crashed by 20% in one day, right? They went out. In fact, Schiller went out and asked everyone, why did the market collapse? And they said, the market, we don't know. I mean, nothing happened. No news. I miss the 80s. Yeah, so do I. The market collapsed by 20% in one day. And do you know what the odds of using statistics? Let's get a little bit complicated here. Bear with me for a second. The odds for the market to drop by 20% in one day at that time was 10 to the power 50. Right? Your odds of winning the lottery is 1 to 350 million. It's like what, 6, 7 zeros in there. Well, 8 zeros. Imagine you have 50 zeros. That's almost impossible. Right? What does that mean? It means that it shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't get 20% drop in the stock, and yet it happened. So we do not know how to calculate the risk. We don't know how to calculate the risk. Why of the stock market? Is because statistics, and bear with me for a second here, statistics assume that all variables are independent, but they're not, right? If a stock drops, it leads another one, leads to another one. It's like chaos theory. Nobody knows what the heck is driving everything, and it's exactly what's happening. No one knows what is driving everything. So it's chaos. So what do you do in the middle of this chaos? Well, I'm going to invest my money, in the stock market. Well, if you're going to do that, make sure that you have a component of your stock market that is at least invested in small company caps. That's what I'm doing, and also investing over the market. You still get Social Security. Well, hold on. Okay. Oh, now you brought up that topic. Social Security, right? If you're fully funded, by the time you're 68, you probably make $4,000 a month. Great. But look what's happening in Europe right now. Look what's happening in France, for example. And be careful. This could start some really messy global situation. And that happened also in Greece. And it also happened in Portugal. And it happened in Italy. First of all, they're asking these people, listen, your debt is too high. We cannot afford you anymore. So you're going to have to make less money in your Social Security. That's what they did, and this is something that you should know. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but my audiences tend to be a bit older and knowledgeable. Obviously, you need to realize that in Greece, that's what they told these people. They said, "Okay, we're going to cut. You're going to raise your taxes first of all, and we are going to ask you to please pay a lot of money on your retirement. Your retirement is going to get taxed." So that's what's going to happen. Also, what happened with Italy? Italy now has 70 years old retirement age. I know. No, I'm not saying it's going to happen in the U.S. now, although technically speaking, there's enough money, I believe, for the next 9 years for retirement. After that, you're running out of money. I guess you could print money. Mike, your friend is over 4% since then. They all lost money. I sold the stock like a dump. Yeah, be careful, because my concern is that we are going to have a problem with Social Security at some point in this country if the dollar doesn't loses its power as a reserve currency, and we have more and more debt, which Trump just added $3 trillion, although he says that basically we're going to have growth. Well, yes, the big beautiful bill. Don't get me started on the big beautiful bill. And I mean, I can't talk about all the topics today because I'm going to have to go soon. But the point is, you need to realize what's going on in this market, and you need to realize the risk, all the risk. And the risk are not just something happening today and then we see. No, because it impacts you. And unfortunately, you need to educate yourself, right? Don't forget, Social Security, like I just said, there's enough money for 9 years. What's going to happen after that? Well, we'll see. And obviously, no, everyone says, we don't want to touch the Social Security. Look what happened to the big beautiful bill. You want to save some money? How you do it? Did they reduce the defense? No. What did they do? Well, they basically went after the fat and quote unquote fat, which means the Medicare and the food stamps. And people say, "Oh my God, this is terrible. Poor people." Okay, well, what do you want to do? Where do you think you're going to get the money? Either you remove the entitlement. Okay, let's reduce Social Security. Then you have World War III in the U.S. Okay, you don't have to reduce that. Well, self-defense. Yeah, but we're sending money everywhere. Weapons to Ukraine, sending weapons to Israel. Where do you think this stuff is going to come from? Okay, so don't cut that. Okay, then what? Then you have to go after, a trillion. This is going to hurt. $1 trillion on Medicaid and food stamps. Of course, the people that probably need it the most. But you got to cut somewhere. And of course, I mean, not everyone's going to lose it. He's going after illegals and people people he doesn't like or whatever. But it's got to be from himself, unfortunately. And that's what he's doing. Is it going to work? Well, yeah. I mean, this is instant. You stop. Um, but in the process, you also need money for the wall again. That's a large issue. None of our conflict and won't yield any. Well, and this is something you have to worry about. Okay, is that if Trump's with the Epstein file combined with the Iran-Israel situation, right? If Trump gets involved or doesn't give them what they want, he's going to lose the MAGA people. And I will tell you right now, they're pretty pissed. Some of them are very upset that they were told they were going to, I don't know exactly what's the big interest, but they wanted to know what happened with Epstein, and they wanted the list. They wanted to know what's going on, and they didn't get it, and they're very upset. And then, on top of that, because he basically said, there's no list, okay, let's move on. I said, no, we're not moving on. We are not moving on. That American time is volatile. Yes, the American is volatile and reliable. Yes. The stocks go up and down every day. We should have a type of risk last year. And they're like, well, be careful as you get closer to retirement. If you retire next year, sell everything right now, sit on it, and wait. Okay, I did that at the beginning of the year, this year. I sold. I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, and then when it hits the bottom, I hit it and I started all over again. But still, right, it is dangerous. Okay, so you gotta be careful. Do you think that the market has a place less and less on Trump and his decision on somebody they don't believe it's called an action? Well, right now the market is in bed with Trump, right? Meaning that he wants them to keep talking about lower rates. Give me low rates. I want. Well, I mean, right now the market is going up because he believes that rates are going to go down because he wants it, and then because there's no inflation, and frankly, the guy, what's his name, Walsh there. Walsh is among the candidate. Trump has said he's considering to replace Jerome Powell when the Fed chair terms expire in May 2026. And Walsh reiterated his view that the Fed could cut interest rate. I mean, he's telling, what do you want? What do you want me to do? I'll do it. That's dangerous. Of course, he's also saying that the Fed should be independent. But he's not going to be the next Fed chair. Right? Usually when Trump talks, don't listen to what he says. Listen to what he's not saying. It's going to be Bassett because Trump needs to trust the people he's with. You know a guy that he trusts a lot? It's Navarro, Pete Navarro, the guy that created the whole tariff thing, mayhem stuff, right? Do you know that Pete Navarro went to jail for him? The audio is cutting out. All right, so that's the thing you need to worry about mostly is retirement. Retirement is going to be an issue, I believe, next 9 years. So the most immediate concern that I'm going to have for you is obviously everyone is looking for July. Everyone wants to know what's going to happen in July. And in July, originally I thought that no rate cut because Powell basically does not want to lower the rates because he says, I don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs. And you may never know what's going to happen with the tariffs. It could go on and on and on and on, and you may never know. Life is today is an issue. Forget about retirement. You know what? I agree with Spartacus at the end of the day, right? I believe that you should enjoy your life now because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. I know a lot of people say, let me save and save and save. Take a look at, who died recently and had lots of money and he was all stressed out. And, there's a lot of situation like that, right? You can't predict anything. No, you can't. You cannot predict. And this is exactly what this channel is about. This channel is about it's all falling in plan. This channel is about being the black swan, things that you don't know are going to impact you. Then you say, well, what do? We just sit there? Well, you can't. If you don't do anything, it's like you're going to do something. Meaning that Doing nothing is like doing something, meaning you're doing nothing, meaning you're losing the opportunity to invest in the stock market. So right now, what I would do the following. In terms of stock market, small company stocks. Second, wait to refinance a home, a car, whatever. Rates are going to drop lower. Stay away from Tesla in case anybody wants to. Tesla, you got to wait for $250 before you start acting on it. Take a look at my Patreon channel and you will see lots of interesting stocks that are small company stocks. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can keep up as to what everything that's going on, because what it is, because of all these topics, which about there's 6 or 7 topics, right? There's inflation we need to keep up with, the recession we need to keep up with, which I don't think is a problem. We need to keep up with the Iran-Israel. That's going to start pretty soon. In fact, it's already starting. Israel is attacking Syria, although the U.S. is not involved. But I will say that Marco Rubio went to Netanyahu and told them, what are you doing? Oh, there was a misunderstanding. Okay, well, try not to do that, because this is the last thing we need is us have to get back in there, right? Then there's a Russia thing as well. Frankly, you got to be careful about the Russia situation, because even though Trump, and that also pissed off the MAGA people, by the way. Why? Because, option on the Blackstone group, oh my God. Because what happened with Trump is that he decided that he's going to help Ukraine by selling him weapons. He's saying, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm just selling the weapons, right? We're not getting involved. Well, no, you are getting involved, because frankly, you can't just sell a bunch of Patriot missiles and say, here, you got to bring your guys over there to show them how to use it, right? So the U.S. is involved, and frankly, the MAGA people don't like that. So the MAGA people didn't like the Ukraine involvement. The MAGA people don't like the Israel-Iran thing, and the MAGA people don't like the Epstein things. That's adding up. Now, one thing I don't know if you noticed, let's get into politics a little bit, but you haven't heard from J.D. Vance lately, have you? Right? Well, he wants to be president, obviously. So he wants to stay close to the MAGA people. And the way he gets close to the MAGA people is because when we had the situation with Iran, Israel, and this report came out that, you know what, there's a problem and nothing was done. Remember that they said, well, where are the weapons? Where are the weapons? The weapons are running around. What's going on? And they say, well, maybe we didn't destroy everything. And Trump got pissed at that. And A.G. Vance said, well, yeah, I mean, maybe we didn't destroy everything. You haven't heard from him, right? But then that's because he wants to stay close to the MAGA people. So that may become your next president of the United States once Trump is out. I mean, at some point, he's got to let it go, right? So watch the Russia thing, because the Russian situation, the guy got pissed, Putin, and he wanted to, he's basically going to be testing his nuclear weapons. I mean, who's J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States. I know you haven't seen him lately, but that's the thing, right? He's supposed to take over for Trump in case something happens to Trump. And when Trump leaves, I'm sure he's going to run for president. But there's another guy that's going to run for president, and that's Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio already wants to be president as well. So they'll be very, very quiet. Oh, okay, he was being sarcastic. Okay, but that's my point, right? That you haven't seen J.D. Vance, and the other one that you haven't seen at all is what's her name, the National Security Advisor, because she also said what J.D. Vance was saying, that I mean, maybe we didn't destroy everything, and frankly, so there is 800 pounds. They try to be behind the scene. I mean, working with a guy like Trump would be extremely exhausting, I'll tell you that, because the guy never stops. He's a machine, right? He doesn't care about anything except what he wants to do. It's amazing. But the point is that you haven't heard from the National Security Advisor, and she also, she's on the wayside. You don't hear her anymore. Why? Because she also said that, frankly, I think that we're having issues with the fact that we don't hear what's going on with we don't know what's going on with with the situation in Iran, for example. That was a big. You said you believe Russia will begin testing. No, I don't think I believe. I think that they are talking about. When I look at the European news, they're basically saying that that's what they want to do. They want to test it. They want to do the testing of the nuclear weapon because they want to be. They want to scare the people off. That's what they want to do. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful because if that happens, I mean, Europe is really going a big way against Russia. So as far as you're concerned, and I don't care where you are, there's a lot of points, there's a lot of things happening in the world that you, even if you're not invested in the stock market, you need to understand what's happening. Why? Because it's going to impact you. And the thing is, Trump, unfortunately, the way he does it in such a way that is so strong and so powerful. And so, I'm not saying in a good way, I'm saying in a bad way, technically. He's coercing, right? The way he negotiated with China, for example, was a pretty rough way of doing it, meaning 50%, 100% tariffs. Now he knows that China has a humongous amount of deflation going on, right? So, you by telling everyone that you're not going to buy their product, you're going to put the pressure on them. But be careful, because if China is not able to produce anything, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to have to produce something. They're going to have to do something, right? And they're going to produce more weapons. And don't forget, I don't know if I said that before, but the U.S. has about a week worth of missiles. And unfortunately, the US has a weak, and China is able to produce a lot more. Do you really want to test all these people? So, and unfortunately, I don't think that this level of activities, this heightened level of uncertainty is not going to go anywhere for a while, because with Trump at the helm, I mean, yes, he's getting things done, but can he keep all these balls in the air for that long period of time and make it come out okay? I don't know if that's possible. I think that could be a lot of damage at some point. So you got to realize, and that's what we're going to do with this channel, right? We're gonna keep track of all these events, and you're gonna learn something, because at the end of the day, I'm also an educator, because frankly, you should learn, you should understand, you should realize the world that you're living in. But most importantly, you have to be careful where to get the information. Rely on the U.S. stock market currently can and end up very bad. No. You right now, I mean, and you don't have, even if you're in the U.S., you shouldn't have all your money in the stock market, right? At least in the U.S. stock market. I'm not saying don't invest. You should invest, because the money's going to go somewhere. Otherwise, inflation is going to eat everything out, and you're not going to have anything left. What you want to do is you want to have some money. I mean, gold, although it's very expensive right now, but definitely European stock market, small company stocks, and the U.S. stock market. And I'm not, unless you know what you're doing, I wouldn't go and pick stocks. I mean, take a look at my Patreon channel. I got a couple of stocks that I keep talking about all the time, so you have a better sense as to what's happening. And because I like stocks that are cheap, nobody cares about. The same way when Amazon started, right? Amazon was this guy. He's making some book and who cares? Google, start in the garage. That's when you want to invest in Google, not now. Yeah. So you need to buy when nobody else is buying, basically, right? So you want some money in the stock market, in the U.S. stock market. You want money in You want money in small company stocks. When I say small company, you're talking about less than 2 billion in market cap. That sector is grossly appreciating, is underperforming versus market caps. JP call options based on tangible, and of course, okay, let's get into options for a little bit, then I gotta go. But basically, options are a great way to make lots of money. What's his name over at Universa? Spitznagel, and my friend, the guy that wrote the Black Swan, Taleb Nassim, they made 4,000% in 2020 at the time of COVID. They didn't pick a bunch of great stock. They put a bunch of what is called the fat tail. They invested in the fat tail. They change. Well, they change in an instant based on volatility. Well, yes, and because option, you need to know not only when it's going to go up and by how much, but what you should do is you should buy long dated options, like options expiring in 2 years from now. Right? It's very cheap. And you're saying if the market dropped by 20%, I make $15,000, $20,000. But nothing happens, I don't lose anything. But at least you're protecting the downside of your portfolio, because most everyone right now, what they do is they really focusing on making money by picking, following NVIDIA. And that's what they do. Whenever you listen to CNBC, what do? Or Bloomberg. They say, well, hey, a portfolio manager, what do you think? Yeah, well, Tesla is good, Tesla is no good. But you can't make decisions like that. Why? Because you don't know their portfolio, you don't know their performance. So they're selling you a bunch of goods. So you're saying, well, this guy said that AI is a good thing right now. We should invest in AI. Well, what the heck does that mean? You don't know. Maybe they have 25% AI and 25% utilities and 25% banks. Is that what you have? And you should also ask, what is your performance? How are you performing? That's what you want to find out. And most of the time, these guys don't beat the stock market. Most investors don't beat the stock market. Most portfolio managers, only 20% beat the market. So again, for this channel, I want you to be an informed consumer and an informed investor. That is the most important thing.